Hello, everyone. This is Paul Sargent with the International Student Admissions and Programs Office here at the University of West Georgia. I'm just waiting to see if we do officially go live here, and perfect, there we are. I can see myself. But hello, everyone. This is Paul Sargent with the University of West Georgia's International Student Admissions and Programs Office. I do want to give a few minutes just for some people to make it over and see the notification about the live stream being available. So I figure we can just be here for a couple of minutes, and I can just talk a little bit about myself, and then we'll move into a little bit of a presentation of the University of West Georgia, and then I'll open it up to Q&As, hopefully once our students and participants make it over to viewing the video. But yes, I've been with the University of West Georgia for about 6 years now with the International Student Admissions and Programs Office. I've very much enjoyed my time here. I've just got to see entire groups of students come in and go through orientation and graduate and get their jobs. So it's quite fulfilling for me to be able to work with this process with all of the prospective students and helping them take those next few steps. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but I did spend a bit of my life abroad as well, both as a student and working. I went to the Czech Republic for a few years, and then Canada, and then with all of those sorts of things, doing international missions for students who that I was trying to help to go to the UK or to go to Canada. But now I'm back to the US, and I'm very happily here in Georgia. I'm not originally from Georgia, so this is actually kind of my adopted home because I very much enjoy it here. The weather's fantastic. The people are nice, so I think it's a great place to be. And hello, Greed, 600 SAT Math, and a 460 Writing. Yes, that would be above the minimums. Obviously, your math score is quite great. With the reading and writing, a little bit lower, but still it's within the area where you would be able to get admission and potentially even a small scholarship. So that's certainly an option. But yeah, so let's see. We still only have a few people watching. So let me move over to our general presentation. And hopefully we can get a few more people showing up here before we move on to the full Q&A. You're an yeah, that's fine. I only deal with international students. I don't even work with our American applicants. So everything I say is about the international students. The domestics have their own little process and a few differences in the application. So yeah, for me, everything I talk about is only international because that's really the only bit I am an expert at. But yes, let me see if I could move myself off to the side here a little bit. There we go, that works. But yeah, so we are the University of West Georgia. We are located in a town called Carrollton, Georgia. It's about 45 minutes to an hour west of the city of Atlanta. Atlanta is one of the larger cities in the U.S. It's located right here. Georgia, of course, being this state right here above the state of Florida. So typically when I'm working with international students, they'll either know like California, where that's located in the U.S., and Texas and Florida, just because it sticks out a little bit. And then all of this part, they don't know which state is which. So if you're like that, don't feel bad, because honestly, more international students know more about the United States than most Americans know about various states and provinces in your country. So Georgia is this state right here. It's quite nice. It's obviously a southern state, so very good weather, quite warm. We usually don't get any snow. We might get snow once a year or maybe twice a year. And for those days, like the entire state closes down. So classes are canceled and everyone just kind of stays home or goes outside and plays in the snow or something. So yeah, it's fantastic weather. Great hospitality, and the city of Atlanta is a business hub of the United States. So we are so the city of Carrollton, we were actually recently ranked as the ninth most affordable college town in the United States. So Carrollton itself, the cost of living is quite low, and that's one of the nice things about the state of Georgia as a whole. So students know California, New York, Texas, Florida, but those are all very quite expensive states to live in typically. But Georgia is actually a very low cost or a cheaper state to live in. So for international students who might be on a bit of a budget and want to keep their cost of living a bit lower, Georgia and especially Carrollton are great options because housing is low cost, food is low cost, and it just makes being able to survive as a student in the state of Georgia a little bit easier. Oh, hello, Agabulu Bula. Excuse me. Hey, my pleasure. Happy to be here. Spring 2022. Perfect. What country are you tuning in from, Greed, if you don't mind me asking? And if you do mind, feel free to just send me an email. I'll give you my contact information afterwards if you don't already have it. Nepal. Oh, good. Nepal, I don't know the current visa wait times for Nepal, but yeah, if you can get an application in and work hard to get the documents to us as soon as possible, spring may be possible. Abdul Rabaldul Izez. I know you quite well. Good to see you, sir. Jinka, I know you too. Hello. Glad to see people making it over to the thing now, so that's great. Yeah, but as I was saying, so yeah, Carrollton's a very low-cost city in a low-cost state. So the cost of living with us is quite reasonable. We are a medium-sized institution with about 13,000 students. I think the last time I looked, it's about 12,500, 12,600 students amongst all of our programs. So we are considered medium-sized. There are some universities in the United States with like 30, 40,000 students. Other colleges out there with about like 800 students. So yeah, our small colleges are very small. Our big ones are very big. And West Georgia is solidly there right in the middle. We also offer over 100 different programs, from bachelor's to certificates to endorsements to PhD programs. So we do have a wide range of programs across many different areas of study. And like I said, we are a very affordable option. So not only is the cost of living in Carrollton quite reasonable, but our tuition is also rather low as well. So assuming no scholarship at all, tuition for us is about $15,000 a year, which puts us quite a bit lower than most U.S. institutions. However, on top of that, we do also offer financial awards, and those can include our out-of-state waiver program, which can reduce the cost of tuition to about $4,500 per year, plus a few fees and your cost of living. So the fact that you could get tuition down to as low as $4,500 is quite remarkable in the United States and puts us in a very strong position to be able to attract a lot of students to the university who may otherwise see that education in the United States being unfeasible for being too expensive. Hello, Danica. So, hey, Sophian. And forgive me if I butcher your names. They're very small in the corner of my other screen here, so I'm squinting to see them. Speed, namaste. Aman, hello, Aman. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. We will be moving into a Q&A session shortly. My presentation is literally only like 3 or 4 slides just to get time for everyone to tune in, and then we'll move into the Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer all of the questions that you might have. So bear with me. A little bit about our campus life. We do have a very strong campus life component to the campus because we know that for students coming to the United States, it's not just about getting a good education, but also having fun and meeting people and experiencing different cultures. So we do encourage our students to get as involved as possible on campus when they're here as students. So we have over 100 different student clubs and activities. They're very diverse. And the nice thing is about the University of West Georgia is that we do let students start their own clubs. So if there's something that you're interested in that we don't have a club for, if you can find a handful of friends to want to start that club with you, you can actually get a club approved with the Student Government Association. And then you can actually even get some funds to help you be able to do that club or activity. So because of that, we always have new clubs getting started, older clubs that the people who really like that have graduated. Sometimes those clubs will end if there's not enough people involved in that activity to continue it. So that happens on occasion. But our clubs and activities are everything from hiking to canoeing to being able to do like some competitive dance to I've even seen like animation clubs for like Japanese animation, Dungeons and Dragons clubs, debate clubs, academic fraternities, sororities and fraternities where it's the Greek life, where they get together and do community projects and those sorts of things. But yeah, there's so many different things that you can do that if you have an interest, it's very easy to find a way to get involved and do those on campus. We are a Division II NCAA school, so we do have 13 competitive teams here on campus, everything from track and field to American football to tennis to basketball. So there's quite a few of those activities here on campus. But on top of that, we do also have rec league as well. So if we don't have the sport, or if you like a sport but you're not good enough to be at the level that you need to represent the whole university, you can join the rec leagues as well. So you can play soccer or European football with friends, and we actually get little clubs together. There are some intercollegiate activities as well, so sometimes we'll even have our rec leagues face off with other schools' rec leagues as well. So it gives you kind of a good opportunity to get out there, have fun, stay fit, even if you're not at Division II level of athletics. Hello, Mary. Welcome. And Kanish, hello. Pleasure. We do have an active international student club. The international student club is very nice. We do encourage all of our international students to join it. It has students from all over the world. They get together and they do little trips and activities and do cultural things. Our biggest one is our international night, where students actually get together and will do a presentation of their food and their culture. So it's this bit of a talent show, as well as a good opportunity for students to get into the kitchen, maybe cook something from their home country, and they can actually serve it and present their highlight or their talent to the university community as a whole. So it's very nice. Our domestic students and our international students always look forward to it every year, where they can meet on campus and get some really good, interesting food that they may not have had before and see a little bit more about the world, which I think is really awesome. We do have great student support on campus as well. We have multiple modern computer labs across the campus for students where they're being able to complete their work and do research and those sorts of things. We have technology services, which actually offers a free IT support for our students. So if you do break your personal computer or something like that, we have some of our computer science students who work at the Technology Services Center, where they can actually help you fix whatever the issue is on your computer without having to take it to an expensive repair shop or something along those lines. We have a campus shuttle, which drives big circles around our campus all the time. It not only services the dormitories and the classrooms, but also some of our off-campus housing. So if you do live off campus, typically you could still take a bus to campus as long as you're in one of the approved housing providers that has the shuttle service. And it does also go a couple of days a week to the off-campus shopping locations in Carrollton. So if you prefer to cook your own food, or you just need to go to the bank or buy some clothing or something along those lines, the campus shuttle will be able to help you with that. So even if you don't have a car or have a license to be able to drive in the United States, you don't really need one, because the campus shuttle would be good enough to make sure you can satisfy your immediate needs. We have a career services office on campus to help you learn about interviewing in the United States, job hunting skills, how to prepare your resume, how to they do practice interviews. So if you're kind of nervous and you're not sure what kind of questions to ask, that is certainly helpful, especially in like years your junior and senior year, or when you're getting ready for graduation. I always say to our students to go and get to the career services office so that you can get some of those practices in, to help you be able to find a job after you graduate. We do also have career fairs on campus, so some of our local employers will come to campus when they have jobs available and present to students in certain majors or certain areas of study that they're looking to fill. And we also have on-campus health services and a counseling center. In fact, our health services just got a brand new expensive building on campus, which is nice. But you can typically go there for medications, doctor visits, and those sorts of things, as well as the counseling center. So if you just need someone to talk to or talk through some problems that you might be having, that's a great resource as well. Because one thing that I think everyone knows about America is our healthcare is quite expensive. And these are all included in the fees of the university. So you can actually go to these without any additional out-of-pocket costs, or for some things like medications, it's a very discounted cost. So it makes it very nice and easy for students who might need a very small bits of healthcare or counseling help to be able to do so without being asked to use your health insurance or pay out of pocket for them, which is a wonderful opportunity as well. And my last slide here is our experiential learning opportunities, because I know the three things that students want when they're in the United States is a good education, fun, and being able to meet people, and three, being able to work afterwards. Those are typically the big three things that students are looking for if they're going to be coming to the United States. So we take that very seriously. We have on-campus employment available throughout your program. So typically if you're an international student and you're wanting to make a little bit of money, being able to work on campus is a wonderful bonus. The jobs on campus are wide ranging. Like I said, we have IT services on campus. So if you're a computer science student and you like to fix computers, that is a great place to go, where you can actually get some like real world preparation for fixing computers, but on campus, part-time, 20 hours a week, where you can actually be earning money while you're in school, which I think is pretty awesome. We have a lot of other things. Our cafeteria always is hiring students to serve food for the meals that we offer on campus. Different offices have secretaries and student assistants to help them with the day-to-day running of the various offices in areas of where people working on campus. For graduate students, we have a lot of research opportunities where they can actually help with the teaching of the undergraduate students, or grading projects, or helping some of our faculty with research opportunities. And yeah, just a wide range of things. So we even have like fitness coaches on campus, because we do a lot of fitness classes in the school gymnasium. So where students are being able to go and do a spin class on stationary bicycles, we'll have a student employee there who really likes to cycle and does the class with them, and it's very fun. So regardless of what you are interested in or what you want to do, you're probably going to be able to find a job on campus that would be able to help you do that and also get paid for it, which is pretty nice. All of our programs on campus also qualifies for internships. So we do offer a CPT, that's co-curricular practical training. It's a graduate, it's a governmental program where international students can work off campus 20 hours a week as they are students. So all of our programs do qualify for the CPT. We do offer CPT workshops, and authorization is through our office directly. So you just have to come to us with the needed paperwork and we can authorize you to be able to take that off-campus internship. So for example, if you're a business student and you find a job off campus, interning with an accountant, for example, so you can work 20 hours a week helping the accountant with whatever they're doing with managing the books of that organization, data entry, those sorts of things, and be able to get career experience associated with your major, which definitely helps you when you're graduating, because then you'd be able to put it on your resume that you actually have real world experience with an American company off campus, which is pretty nice. There are a lot of well-known companies in Atlanta. Like I said, Atlanta is a business hub. So we have Coca-Cola headquartered there, Delta Airlines headquartered there, CNN has their headquarters in Atlanta. I actually had an international student in journalism program get an internship at CNN a little while ago, which I thought was pretty cool. UPS, Equifax, which is a credit score monitoring company, also have their locations here in Atlanta. And we do have career services on campus to help. So they do, like I said before, job and internship search assistance, on-campus career fairs, resume and interview assistance. And the nice thing is once you do graduate, we do have OPT on campus, which is the optional practical training. That's a governmental program that gives you a 1 to 3 year work visa after you graduate to be able to remain in the United States and work in the United States after you have completed your program. So we do have OPT workshops and training on campus in our office to prepare you for that. And if you are interested in OPT, I typically recommend students to try to get in for CPT opportunities the year before they graduate, because a lot of time a student will get a CPT as an internship with the company. They do a really good job. They impress the company that they're working for, and then they can move into an OPT or like a real employment job after they complete their program to gain a little bit more experience. All in all, it's a great program. And like I said, that brings me to the end of my slides. But yeah, well, that helped. We did get a few more people to tune in, so that is fantastic. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for listening to me. I will move in now to Q&A mode. Perfect. So for the rest of our time together, I just wanted to open up the floor to you for any questions that you might have. Feel free to pop them into chat. I'll do my best to answer them. If it's something personal about your exact application and you have a question, like, hey, what am I missing on my application? Obviously, I wouldn't be able to answer you in this format simply because it's not really something to discuss with the greater public world of YouTube. So you can at least follow up with me on email and I can definitely help you with that. But any general questions about the university, our programs, what the campus has, scholarship opportunities, what have you, let me know and I'll be happy to go into them in a bit more detail. So, oh, Brian, I don't think I saw you join. Hello, Brian. Just to confirm, urban planning. No, we do not actually have urban planning at West Georgia. I do have a very loud keyboard, so I apologize for that. So you could just search UWG Master Degrees. This is a list of our master degree programs. You can do the same thing with PhD if you're looking for PhD opportunities. But the thing you want to look for are these. So delivery face-to-face. For international students, if you want to study in the United States on a student visa, you would want to apply for the face-to-face programs. If you apply for a fully online program, it would not be typically available. You could still study it, but then you would be needing to study it from your home country as opposed to on a student visa. However, if you see fully online optional programs, that means is that it could be available on campus, but it isn't always on campus. So if it's only an optional fully online program, that typically would be one that students would be able to join. Thank you for that. My pleasure, Brian. Happy to help and answer any questions that you may have. Community bathrooms. Every building has at least a few. So you're never going to be in need for a restroom and be unable to find them. I can actually bring up the campus map here. No, it might help if I search GWG campus map. I don't know what school that is, but it's not mine. So if you are interested, you can do a bit of a tour of our campus from wherever you are at the moment. Actually, I'm looking for a specific map. There it is, the virtual map. All right, this is a little bit nicer. I'm old, so I usually go with this version of the campus map, but I think most people would agree this is a nicer one. So this is the University of West Georgia. It goes out a little bit further. Our athletic center is down this road, actually. You can see kind of a breakdown here of the campus map, and over here there's a few additional buildings, but this is the core campus. So as you can see, it is very centralized, which is very nice. So this is one of our dormitories here. We got some more dormitories over here and here and here, and everything is very walkable from like one side of the campus to the other side of the campus, not including the athletic facilities. I'd say it's about 20 to 30 minutes depending on how fast of a walker you are. However, like I said, we do have a campus shuttle that literally goes all the way around this campus constantly. So if you're ever in a rush or it's raining and you don't feel like walking, it's fine, just take the bus. But typically, we do have most of our dormitories on the outer rim, and then the academic buildings in the middle. So you're basically never going to have to walk from one side to the other side unless you're visiting a friend in a different dormitory, for example. But yeah, all of the buildings here are typically handicap accessible. They do have washrooms. We do have on-campus meal facilities. So we do have a cafeteria here and a cafeteria here. I've never seen the campus from this angle before, so. And we also have a few different restaurants and things like that in the middle of the campus. There is a lot of options to be able to get food on the go between classes and move on to the next place. So definitely a lot of things that are available. Let me catch up here. Uju from Nigeria. Hello. I was told to have in Lagos a necessary at the appointment. I was told I have to have in Lagos a necessary part. Oh, are you talking about the visa application? with the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, or I guess Lagos would be the consulate in Nigeria. If so, then yes, obviously to be able to get your visa, you would have to go into the embassy or the consulate to apply for it. There is a very short, couple-minute interview. They just look over your documents, and then they will make a decision on your visa to the U.S. So if you want to study in the United States and not online with one of the virtual programs, then yes, you would need to go through that process to be able to get your permission to come into the United States as a student. For the biology program, average duration for that program. So the master's in biology is a 30 credit program, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it's a non-thesis, but so 36 credit hours. So 36 credit hours typically will determine how long the program is. So graduate students will be full-time students, meaning that you'll be taking 9 credits per semester. So that's 9, 18, 27, 36. So you're looking at 4 semesters of duration. How you schedule those 4 semesters is a bit up to you. Semesters run between January and May, and August and December. However, there is also a optional summer term which runs May to July. So if it's 4 semesters of study and you want to take your summer as a vacation to be able to maybe do some internship or work experience or go home to visit family for the summer months, that is up to you. But a 4-semester program is traditionally a 4-year program. So you'd be going August to December, January to May, August to December, January to May. But if you would study in the summer months, you could bring that down to about a year and a half duration for the completion of the program. So it just kind of depends on how you want to structure it for yourself and if you plan to get some working experience along with your degree program or not. But traditionally, you're looking at a 2-year program. Can an international student start studying online from the home country and move into the campus at a later time? Yes, that definitely is a possibility, Brian. In fact, with fall 2020, a lot of students ended up doing that for obvious reasons because international travel became a little bit more difficult. In fact, in fall 2021, I actually had a few students come in for their first time on campus, and they were actually sophomores or second year students because they did so much of their studies online during the year that they were actually already up a year when they started with their program on campus. So starting online, switching to on campus, that certainly is possible. We've even had some students that in their last year of education had to go home because of family issues or funding issues or something along those lines, and were even able to complete their program with online study from their home country. So it is definitely flexible where students can move in and move out of on-campus residences, and that it is hard to do in the middle of a semester, however, so it is better to plan ahead. So if you say for fall 2021, I'm going to be an online student, you can't say in October or November that you want to switch to on-campus because those classes are run in parallel, but there isn't really the ability to move in between them. So if you do an online semester and then the next semester you switch to on-campus, that's perfectly acceptable. 2.9 GPA, 7 IELTS. Yes, it would depend on the program you are applying for, but typically a 2.9 would be enough. You said that you had your SAT score, so I'm assuming you're applying as a freshman. So a freshman student in an undergraduate program, 2.9 would be an eligible GPA. And 7 is actually above our minimum requirements for the IELTS. Our minimum IELTS score is a 6.0. Preferred is a 6.5. So if you're sitting at a 7, you're well set on the English ability side of things. 2.9, it's acceptable. We typically look for like a 2.5 minimum, give or take. Typically, the undergraduate has a more strong emphasis on GPA than we do at the international office, just because it's a little bit harder to compare GPAs from around the world. Because, for example, in the United States, a 50% is a failing grade, but in Nigeria, if you get 50%, that's actually not a bad grade. Like if you get above a 70% in school or an Indian school, you are brilliant. But if you get a 70% in the United States, it's like a C. So comparing GPAs is a little bit more tricky when you're looking around the world. So for me, I put more value on the test scores because at least with the SAT exam for freshman students, it is a similar or same exam as you would have regardless of where you take it. So yeah, 2.9 is certainly enough, and with your test scores, you would already be in a pretty good shape for it. Are there boy-girl dorms for undergraduate students? Yes and no. So typically, we would be looking at, we have some mixed dorms. So, for example, the Oaks. Sometimes there will be buildings that will be for boys and girls. Boys on like one side of the dorm, girls on the other side of the dorm. We have some other versions where it's like apartment style. I can actually show you some of the different styles of rooms we have. So Center Point Suites, for example. Do they have a room layout? That wasn't the one I was looking for. I think University Suites is the one I was thinking of. So yeah. We have apartment style dorms as well. So this would be like the hallway for the building. This is one of the buildings here. And in this room, you have a shared kitchen, and you both have your own bathroom and sink, and then your own bedroom. So we have double versions where there's two people in each bedroom, and there's a single versions where it's just one bed in each room. So if you're looking at this as a entire suite, it would be a boy suite or a girl suite. However, if you go down the hallway, the next suite next door could be a boy suite or a girl suite. So it isn't co-ed in terms of the room, but the building itself is co-ed, if that makes sense. Can you have an appointment in Abuja? Yes. You can actually even go to Ghana, for example, and apply there if you wanted to. The U.S. Embassy and Consulate system is quite flexible. As long as you're applying at a U.S. Embassy or Consulate where you're legally able to be in that country, then that would be an acceptable place for you to apply for your student visa. So that certainly would be an option as well. What GPA is required for the Tanner Health System School of Nursing? That's a difficult one. To get admission, you only have to meet the minimum GPA for admission. So I can pull that up for you here. They don't have the minimum anymore. I think it's like a 2.5, 2.6 for the overall. As you can see, our average class GPA is about 3.32. But with the School of Nursing specifically, there is two different applications that you are submitting. The first application is to get into the University of West Georgia. Once you are admitted, you are considered to be a pre-nursing student. So for those first 2 years, you're taking some of your core classes, your English, your math, your biology, the general classes that you just need to be able to graduate. You'll be taking a few introduction to nursing classes, but you won't be actually doing rotations at the local hospital or anything like that. Then after your second year, you would then be applying for admission into nursing. So then they will look at your GPA from those first 2 years of classes and then admit you into the full nursing program as opposed to just the pre-nursing program. At that point, they will no longer be looking at your secondary school GPA. They will only be looking at your University of West Georgia GPA. So it just depends on how well you've done in those classes at West Georgia at the university level prior to applying to enter into the nursing program. However, for majority of our programs on campus, they don't have that second admission process. So if you're admitted as a biology student or a math student, you are basically already admitted into the full program for the entire 4 years of your education to get your final degree. Nursing is just one of those that is a little bit more peculiar because to graduate with the nursing program, you need to have a state license to be able to be a nurse in the state of Georgia. So because of that, you have to meet a couple criteria just to be eligible to apply for the nursing certification once you graduate. And we just don't want students taking into a program that they probably won't be able to finish at high enough level to qualify for that certificate after they graduate. What is a GPA required? Sorry, Jidika, I've already answered that one. What is the selection method for dorm roommates? When you are filling out your housing application, there is kind of a personality test. They'll ask you, like, are you a morning person? Do you like to stay up late? Do you like to study in your room? Do you like to study in a library? Those sorts of things. And they do their best to find people with a good match personality-wise for you to be in your dorm space together. So we don't want someone who loves to stay up until 4 a.m. In a room with someone who likes to wake up at 7 a.m. and go out and study, because that's a mismatch. But they do their best to try to figure out like who would be able to be happy with each other. We are also, we do take requests. So if you do have a friend who's coming to the university and you want to put into a request that you like to room with this in specific person, that is a possibility as well. But with most international students, obviously you don't have a lot of friends coming to West Georgia at the same time. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. However, if we do guess wrong and we do put you into a room with someone that you just don't get along with, usually for the first couple of weeks we'll ask you to try, just because it is a learning experience for everyone to figure out how to cohabitate well and successfully. But after a week or two, or if the problem is severe enough, even earlier, we have moved people around before. So if just whoever you're stuck with just doesn't get along with you, it is possible to switch roommates without having to do the entire year with that specific roommate. So definitely don't worry about it. We will work with you and try our best to find you a great match where you can actually be friends with your roommate and have great times together. We try to do that from first day, but on the rare occasion where we just are wrong, it is certainly possible to make some changes. Can international students apply for application fee waiver? No, we don't have an application fee waiver typically. We only have permission to give application fee waivers at events that we go to. So occasionally in the before times, before the pandemic, if I would go to Columbia and hold a seminar with students in class in the high school, I did have permission to give a couple of application fee waivers to specific students who seemed really interested in what we had to offer. However, that is only because we were paying a lot of money to go there to, talk with those students. And sometimes you have to offer those application fee waivers to the school just to get permission to go in and speak with some of the students, kind of those sorts of things. But typically, we don't have an application fee waiver in general for international students. The domestic students, they do have an application fee waiver under a national program. So if there is a student with like a very low income, there is a financial aid kind of sort of a program where students can get an application fee waiver to a select number of schools. However, international students aren't really eligible for it because to be able to qualify to get a visa, you do need to be able to show a significant amount of money in a bank account to meet the requirements of the embassy to be issued an F1 visa. And so for international students, you either have enough money to satisfy the visa requirement, or you don't have enough money where you would qualify for the application fee waiver, but you couldn't do both. So either you don't have enough money and you can get the application fee waiver, but then not the visa, or you have enough money to get the visa, but then you wouldn't be able to get the application fee waiver. So it's kind of a mental conundrum. So because of that, we typically don't have an international fee waiver based off of need. The only ones we had were the ones that were coming to a specific event where we were able to offer it in person to a student that we met at a fair or something along those lines. However, since I haven't been able to travel for the last 2 years, we obviously haven't received any new allocation of application fee waivers. So right now we don't have any application fee waivers, but yeah, there's just a little bit of background and logic as to why I can offer you. Excluding out-of-state tuition, what other scholarships do you offer? So the out-of-state, oh, hey, Janelle. The out-of-state waiver is the primary source of funding for international students, especially for their first year. Unless you're a graduate student, then you could get a graduate assistant where it's a little bit better than an out-of-state tuition waiver, but it's limited to graduate students on campus who want to work with a member of faculty during their studies. What we would be looking at for most students is for your first year. If you get the application fee waiver, that's probably all you're going to receive for the first year. However, from your second year, third year, fourth year, however long your program is, you can qualify for additional scholarships. So once you are on campus, if you're doing well in your classes, you're participating, you're involved on the university, you make connections with some of your faculty members, so some sort of those things, you can qualify for departmental scholarships. Those are typically a bit smaller. The out-of-state tuition waiver is usually worth about like $13,000 a year in a reduction of the cost of tuition. The departmental scholarships are more like $500, $1,000. So they're not as high or as prestigious as getting the out-of-state tuition waiver. But obviously, if you offered me $1,000, I would take it. It may not be a lot of money, but it certainly helps. So that typically is something that you'd be considered for based off of your performance in your classes for your second, third, fourth year, etc. of education. Is there a provision for an application waiver? Oh, okay, I answered that one at the same time. How can the international students get qualified for the scholarship? So for new international students, the out-of-state tuition waiver is going to be your best chance of getting financial support. From the second year, we do have a on-campus application form for financial aid. That's typically due around February 1st or so, and students would be able to apply for it, and they'll take your results and your activities from the previous year to see how well you've been doing at the university, how well you perform in your classes, and then you'd be eligible for the smaller scholarships that can go out for the year 2, year 3. So it is based off of merit. The better you do, the more money you could qualify for. So it gives you some additional motivation to get a little bit of study in around test time, for example. What is the minimum GPA needed to obtain a scholarship to the undergraduate program? Well, the out-of-state waivers are typically based off of SAT exam score for freshmen. If you are applying as a transfer student, the minimum would be a 2.8 converted GPA. However, to get the maximum award, we would be looking for a transfer GPA of about 3.25 GPA. So that's kind of the range we're looking for. So you don't have to be an amazing 4.0 student to be able to get the maximum award. A 3.25 is very reasonable and realistic for the amount of money that we are offering to students in the form of that scholarship. 3.25 is quite fair. But as a minimum, you're looking at about a 2.8. For those of you out there who don't know the USA 4.0 system, a 4.0 is an A, a 3.0 is a B, a 2.0 is a C, 1.0 is a D, and a 0 is F. So all of your classes, all of your grades get a value 1, 2, 3, 4. You add them up and you average them, and that gives you where you are. So a 3.25 is kind of a low A, high B threshold. 2.8 is kind of a low B, high C threshold. So that's the kind of typically what we're looking for. So average student, a little bit better than average student. That's kind of the target for financial considerations. What's the name of the UWG mascot? Great question. That is Wolfie. Oh, I didn't know he had his own Twitter account. That's cool. But yes, this is our mascot. He's our little blue wolf. Everyone loves Wolfie. If you ever hear people like howling on campus, we're not going crazy. Just our mascot is a wolf. And occasionally he will even dress up and go around campus, hand out West Georgia shirts or things like that, especially in American football season, around home games. They'll be typically going out there trying to get students excited for the football game. One of the traditions that we have actually is we do typically try to get international students to go to one of the American football games, and we kind of give them instructions and tell them the rules so they understand the game, because outside of America, no one really plays it. So we do try to get our students involved with the athletics on campus and take some pride in the University of West Georgia name, because our athletics teams are quite good. Football, we were like number 2, number 3 in the country for that. Some of our cheer teams and dance teams get first place like almost every year. Our debate team beat Harvard's debate team once, which I thought was remarkable and awesome. So we do take our competition a little seriously. You don't have to participate if you don't want to, but if you do like to get excited about sports and athletics, it's a good place to be, just because we do typically have some very good teams, and there's always someone winning something that you can get excited about. Where was I? Brian. The best SAT score to get your application secured. Well, that depends. So just for admission, we're looking at typically a 480 on the English, 450 on the math. So as long as you're at this point, or at least very close to it, you'd likely be able to be eligible for admission. However, if you're looking to get some financial assistance and scholarships, you would typically want to do better than that. So, for example, our full out-of-state tuition waiver, that's the one that's worth about $13,500. You're looking at about a 600 or a 570 target score. So obviously higher than the minimum. But if you're looking at like what is the minimum to get in, you're looking more on this side. If you want to know like what is the ideal or the one that's going to get you the biggest reward, you're looking more at this side of the chart. Do I have to stay on campus if I have a shelter near the university? For first year freshmen, unless you do have a family member, in a very short distance to the university, we do typically require on-campus housing for that first year. That is just to keep you safe, keep your parents happy, but also it is a good advantage because if you look at the map here, most of our international students, they don't typically get a car. And if you're living on campus and you have a class in the humanities building at 8 o'clock in the morning, you literally can wake up at 7:30, stop by the cafeteria, get a quick bite to eat, and still be at class on time at 8 o'clock. So living on campus definitely has some advantages, and we do have students who choose to live on campus all 4 years of their program just because of those advantages. However, if you do want to live off campus from your second year, that typically is a possibility. We do have now this is the campus. Typically, where are they? Center Point. Okay. So yeah, this is our campus here. Like, there's some off-campus housing for students here. There's a few more over here. There's a couple over here that are typically student serving. But generally they are further from campus. Some of them do get access from the student shuttle service, but still you have to wake up earlier, get everything together, get to campus, and it's just a bit more of a process. So yeah, typically for the first year you're looking for on campus. Second year you have the option of moving off. If you are a transfer student and you already have a year of university behind you, typically you can qualify for an exemption and live off campus right away. If you're over the age of 22, I believe, so if you're kind of an older student and you just don't want to live with like an 18-year-old fresh out of high school kid, that is acceptable too. So there is an age limitation, so you can live off campus if you're old enough, or if you're married and you're bringing in a dependent. So if you're bringing in a husband or a child, then obviously living on campus is a little less than ideal. So you can get an exemption and live off of campus at that point. So there are some exemptions available, but generally speaking, if you're a first year university student, you are asked to live on campus. Cutoff for undergraduate. We kind of went over that already. So the low end of the SAT range is here. So as long as you're above that, you typically are in a better shape to qualify for your admission. How can you apply for graduate assistant? So jobs.westga.edu has all of our available jobs on campus. You would be clicking the student and graduate assistant employee tab. And then you can select just graduate assistant. And these are our GA positions that are currently hiring on campus. Granted, right now it's October. There's not a lot of them available because October is right in the middle of the semester. So the closer we get to the start of the spring semester, the more positions that will get available. And then typically again in typically about like February, March, there's going to be a lot more positions getting posted in advance for our fall 2022 semester. So keep an eye on this one. If you are a graduate student and you are interested in being a graduate assistant at the University of West Georgia, it does update quite regularly, so I'd say at least once a week, pop in here and take a look at the available jobs. For the student jobs, it's a little bit more flexible. Yeah, it's October. Typically, at the beginning of each semester, there's a massive rush to hire as many students as possible. But by October, everyone's kind of already in their job. So in January, again, with the start of the new classes, there's going to be a lot of hiring. So if you're just looking for regular student employment, that's what you'd be looking for. But the graduate assistant one, you do want to plan a little bit further ahead just because the competition's a bit more stringent. So if you see something, apply for it quickly because once they select someone, that position is gone. So don't hesitate to apply for more than one position if you feel that you're qualified and interested in that position. It certainly wouldn't be poor form to do so. Female basketball team. There is, in fact, we had an international. I think she's graduated. But we had a great basketball star from France on our team. But yeah, I think she graduated last year. Yeah, those are all Americans. He says disappointingly as being an American. But yeah, we do have quite a few international athletes on our campus. So if you are a high level and high performing athlete, getting onto the university team is quite nice. Typically, scholarships are possible. They're not always guaranteed. You do have to be quite good to get an athletic scholarship, but those are typically a availability as well. Do I need to write the SAT to qualify for undergraduate? Can the WAEC? We do require the WAEC, but we also require the SAT. So the WAEC doesn't replace the SAT, it is in addition to. So the WAEC shows that you successfully completed secondary studies. So we would want your transcript from your school, your WAEC scratch card, which you can send to me in an email. I can verify on the WAEC direct page. But then you would also need to take the SAT as well. How do we reapply for the... Oh, sorry, apparently I missed some questions. Sorry, Janelle. So yeah, for the international student waiver, it would be the same application that you filled out the first time for the waiver. We did recently update our website, which is always confusing for me. Tuition and fees, I think. No, financial documentation. Yes. So the out-of-state tuition waiver, it's the same form for renewal or for a first-time applicant. Just fill in your information and submit it. We typically try to get these in for renewals by about February 1st. And then as long as your GPA is where it needs to be, you can maintain your waiver and potentially even increase your waiver if you had say if you're in the 25 or 50% award, but you're doing really great in your classes, it is certainly possible to get bumped up to the 100% award, for example. But yes, absolutely available. We do typically try to collect them around February, March, just so we have your fall grades that we can look at to give us an idea of how well you're doing. But we don't make the final decisions until typically June, when the spring grades have come out. So then we have your first year of results that we combine together for your total GPA, and then we process the waiver based off of that information. Apart from football, do you guys have other sports? Yes. So, men's and women's basketball, baseball, cross country, football, golf for the women, basketball, cross country, golf, softball, soccer, tennis, volleyball, and track and field. On top of that, we do have like a dance team and a cheer team, which are considered athletic, but they're not the same NCAA division. So they're different, but also quite competitive as well for cheerleading, dancing, those sorts of things. Is the out-of-state tuition waiver available for graduate students? There is, yes. Typically with the graduate programs, GA or graduate assistant is the top reward. If you can't get a GA position, second place is the waiver. There is not a minimum requirement for a graduate student out-of-state tuition waiver in general. It is based off of the exact program that you're attending. So whatever the requirements are for admission to that program, typically you're looking at like a 25% better than that to get a waiver. So you do need to be an above average student to get the waiver, but you don't have to be as high as, say, a GA position, because the GA positions are typically looking for the best of the best students. So that's kind of the hierarchy of the graduate student funding model. Hi, Bolo. Is the out-of-state waiver tuition available for graduate students? What is the GPA requirement? Okay. If you're interested in going to University of West Georgia, my best advice is stay on campus, especially if you don't drive. I agree, Genial. Genial, she's one of our current students. So take her advice seriously, because Genial's great. What is the age limit for a first-year undergraduate student? There is none. Average, I'd say, is 18, 20. America, we don't typically have the gap year tradition like a lot of the Commonwealth countries do. I did my gap year after a bachelor's degree, so I was a little late with mine. But so yeah, typically most students are going to be around 18 for the first year of admission. Granted, that we have some Nigerian students from 16. But we've also had first-year students in their 30s for international students. In fact, in the state of Georgia, they have this really kind of neat program that after you retire, the state will actually pay for you to be able to go to school for free, just for, fun, I guess. Because, I suppose after you're like 65, 70, you don't really need that degree anymore. But some retirees will actually just join the university. So there might be a 65-year-old in your freshman class, and that's perfectly normal. But yeah, if you're looking at general averages, 18 to 20. Is the SAT required for graduate students to receive a waiver? It is not. So the graduate waivers will be based off of whatever the requirements are for graduate admission. So some of our programs require the GRE or the GMAT or the GMAT. So if the program requires the GRE and the GMAT, they're going to be looking to make sure you have at least like an average or a slightly above average score on that test. For example, our MBA program does not require a GMAT or a GRE. It is based off of your GPA from undergraduate program and your resume. So typically you would be looking for a slightly better than average GPA for students in that program to be able to qualify for the waiver. So each program has its own requirements because the faculty of that program create the requirements for that program. Because of that, we don't have a single requirement for graduate students like we do for undergraduate students. There is not a minimum test score or a minimum GPA. It's all very flexible and based off of what the professors of that program think is required for students to be successful in that program. And they set their own waiver requirements as well. So I can't just say this is a requirement for the graduate waiver. Not that easy, I'm afraid. But yeah, typically, as long as you're an average or slightly above average applicant for that year for that program, that's what you're going to be looking at. Is there a soccer for men? Not Division II NCAA, no. We do have soccer for women. Oh, why did I change? It was right here. So we have soccer for women, but we do not have soccer for men at the Division II level. But if you are interested in playing football or soccer on campus, that is certainly possible. We do have rec teams as well. We've even set up like a soccer tournament with some of our international students of West Georgia, with like international students of another nearby university in the past. It was quite good. We had fun with it. But yeah, there's certainly, if you want to play competitive soccer as a male on campus, you can. It just isn't at the Division II level. I had blood in my night soil. Should I be worried? Probably. Neil said about driving while at the university. Can international students apply for a license? They can, yes. If you already have a license from your home country, it does make the process easier. However, if you are going to be applying for your first time as a driver's license holder in the United States, you do have to go through the full process where you would actually have to take the written test, know the rules in the U.S., take driving practices for a few months, go back and then take your driving exam. So there is a bit of a process, but if you do have a driver's license from your home country, Georgia has a reciprocity agreement with a lot of different countries around the world, which allows you to simply turn in the license that you have from your home country and then receive the Georgia license in return. For example, when I moved here from Canada, that's what I had to do. So I had my Canadian license. I just gave them my Canadian license, and then they handed me my Georgia license. But each country is a little bit different. Can I chat with Janelle to get some advice? Janelle, are you still on the chat? I don't know if she has signed off or not. But I could certainly get you two in touch with each other, potentially. If you wanted to send me an email, Brian, I could forward it to Janelle. And if she's willing and able to respond, then by all means, you two are more than welcome to talk with each other. Apart from the highlighted sports, are there more? No, these are all of our Division II teams. I forgot the exact word for it. Darn. There is a list of our non-Division II teams, like our recreational teams. But I don't remember where it is posted. Intramurals, that's the word I was looking for. So, University Recreation, they run our rec league, which are our intramural sports teams. So this is just basically West Georgia students versus West Georgia students. So they have 3-on-3 basketball, indoor volleyball, outdoor soccer, Splatoon. And I didn't realize we had video game tournaments. That's kind of cool. Dodgeball, archery tag. That's kind of cool. Flag football, Guitar Hero. I used to be so good at Guitar Hero. I wonder if I can enter that. No, I can't. Oh well. That was like 10 years ago anyway. Probably not that good anymore. But yeah, so there's always opportunities on campus to get involved and do sports and or video games, apparently. I think that's new this year, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, just because we don't have it at the Division II level doesn't mean you're not going to be able to take part and participate and keep fit and have fun. So don't worry too much about that. Well, GPA requirements for the Masters in Biology. Sure. So for a Masters in Biology, they're going to be looking at a 2.8 minimum GPA, your resume, your letters of recommendation, a personal statement, and your GRE scores. They don't have a minimum GRE posted here, so I think what they typically do is they just rank students off of the GRE, and then they kind of use that to award the seats of the program until they're out of seats to give to students. But yeah, 2.8 GPA is kind of the qualifier, so as long as you have that, that should be good enough. And we are going to be looking at your converted GPA. So when you send in your undergraduate transcripts to get evaluated by World Education Services or ECE or one of the other companies, they're going to be looking at your converted US average GPA. So I have some students always from like India that say, I only have like a 55% average GPA. According to the US system, that's like an F average. But really a 55 in India is a 3.0. So that is always something some students are concerned about. But we're just going to be looking at your converted GPA. So that's what we are using as a basis. Yes, please, Brian, do send me an email. I'll be happy. Oh, hey, Jeniel is still here. Hi, Jeniel. Thank you for hanging out with us. Playing for the non-division teams get you scholarship. Typically, no. These are rec leagues, so they are supposed to be for fun. And it's just West Georgia students versus West Georgia students. So there's typically not a scholarship program associated with the recreation league. However, a lot of our scholarships that we do have on campus are about student involvement, student commitment, student results. So if you were involved in recreation league soccer, that would look good on your resume for your end of year scholarship application, which could get you an additional scholarship from the department, just for being a good student who is involved in the campus and the community, and those sorts of things. So there isn't a direct benefit of being in the recreation league beyond having fun, but it can help you get involved, get connected to the university, and being a more involved, more community-minded student can get you a qualification for potential scholarships later. I'm a driver in my country, but if I turn in my license to them and give me a Georgia license, would I get my home when I return to my country? That would typically, you can only do that with countries with reciprocity. So that means if my own personal example, I was living in Canada, I moved to Georgia. I gave them my Georgia license and my Ontario license, and they handed me a Georgia license. Because it is a reciprocity, I always have a hard time with that word, I apologize. Then typically, if I would then move back to Canada, say in 2 years or something like that, I move back to Toronto, then because of that agreement that they have between those driver's license centers, I would then be able to give them my Georgia license and then regain my Ontario license. So, that's typically how it's set up. If the country and the state of Georgia does not have that sort of agreement, then you would have to go through and apply for a new Georgia license as normal. So you wouldn't have that benefit of being able to turn in one license for the other. But then you get to retain your license so that if you return back to your home country, you don't have to go through that exchange process anymore, simply because you already have you were able to keep it. So if you can exchange your license and get a Georgia license, that means that when you get home, you can do the same thing in reverse. If you get here and you cannot do that and you have to go through and apply for your own license here, then you would simply keep your home license to still be able to utilize vehicles in your home country once you're done. Jobs for first-year students, many. I talked about this a little bit earlier. So working in the cafeteria, working as a secretary in the university, one of the offices, computer lab. We have a broadcasting studio and DJs. So we have a TV channel and a radio channel radio station on campus where students are able to broadcast media out. So some students work there, especially if they're in the mass communication department or majors. Quite a few options. So I typically haven't had a international student tell me that they were looking for a job and hadn't been able to find one after a little bit of work. So I can't guarantee that you will get one, because I suppose there's always a first time, but generally speaking, it's not difficult to find a job on campus if you want one. Do you advise first year students to take up jobs? Depends. I think working in the US is a good idea. I think it can improve your resume, especially if you want to take a off-campus internship later on. If you need the money, then obviously that has to go into the calculation a little bit. And yeah, so I'd say it's fine to take a job in your first year, but I would also recommend you to be mature enough and in tune with yourself enough that you know that if you're having difficulty in classes, the first thing that you should probably do is seek out help with our academic services and potentially resign from your job. If you do need that additional time and you feel that that job is interfering with your performance in the classes, being able to ensure that you have a good GPA is more important than a few additional hours in the cafeteria helping with dinner time service, for example. So I wouldn't say that there's anything wrong with first year students having a job, but you want to be careful. However, on the other hand, if you are doing very well in your classes, you don't find it much of a challenge, and you have a job on campus, by all means, great. Keep doing it. It is a benefit for you more than likely. Can being involved in extracurricular activities give you a boost on an international student to get the scholarship? You mean for like your returning, like second year, third year scholarship considerations? If so, then absolutely. There are scholarships that would be specifically for students involved in like this kind of activity. So if you're involved in an activity that gets you the ability to apply for more scholarships, as well as there are a lot of scholarships that just say like a well-rounded student who's doing well in classes. So if you have a high GPA and you're involved in like 5 or 6 different clubs and activities, that definitely increases your chances of being able to get one of those general awards as well. Are there private loans? Potentially. That's not anything that you would do through University of West Georgia. West Georgia isn't a bank, so we don't offer any loans ourselves. But if you are in your home country and you want to apply for a loan in your home country and bring that money to the University of West Georgia to help pay for your tuition, that certainly is possible. Typically, international students who want to get a loan in the United States do find it a bit more difficult unless you have a family member or a relative in the United States already who would be willing to act as a cosigner. A cosigner basically means that they promise to pay for the loan if you are unable to promise for the loan. So if you have an American cosigner who would be able to do that with you, who has a credit score, then that certainly is a possibility. But if you are just by yourself, just arrived in the United States, and you want to apply for a loan, typically I haven't seen students be successful at that in the past, simply because the banks know that if you choose to take all of that money, not pay for your classes, and just return back to your home country the next day, legally there's very little that they would be able to do to get that money back from you. So the banks see international students as a bit of a risk, and it does make them a little bit more hesitant to give a loan to an international student without an American cosigner. Are there private loans? An average pay for the first year student. Okay, so our I-20 cost is kind of what we use for that. So for an F1 visa, you have to show that you have enough savings in your account to qualify for the U.S. visa. So West Georgia, we have our number at $32,000 total for 1 year of tuition, fees, textbooks, health insurance, room, meals, etc. That can be reduced, however, in case of, for example, you get an out-of-state tuition waiver. So that $13,500 is applied to your $32,000 estimated cost. So that can get removed from it. And it brings the I-20 cost down to about like $18,000 or so. So 32 is the target for an estimate. And to be honest, that estimate is a little bit high. It's probably more than you're actually going to use. But we'd rather estimate a little bit higher rather than too low for obvious reasons. So that $32,000 minus anything that you receive in support or scholarship from the university or from another source would be what you are supposed to be able to show to the embassy to qualify for your student visa application. Student pay, it depends on the job. Some are minimum wage, so that's about like $7.50. Some of our tutoring, I think, gets up to, I think for like the really difficult classes, I think like up to like $12 an hour is kind of like the maximum for student working. So somewhere in that range is typically what you're looking at for a salary. 20 hours a week, obviously, it would be a part-time job. So that's kind of the maximum that you'd be working on campus. And then you can work 40 hours a week during breaks and vacations. So during spring break, fall break, summer break, if you do find a job on campus that would hire you for 40 hours, you can work those full 40 hours. So definitely a few options. How is the pay received? You can actually set that up with the departments. Some of our students get issued a bank card, which is basically acts as their deposit. So they would just send your paycheck to that card, and then you can withdraw from the ATM cash money if you want it. But nowadays in the U.S., most students don't even use cash money. They rather use a Cash App or PayPal or Venmo or something along those lines. So for the most part, there's an app on your phone. You can track how much money is on that card. You can make transfers from that card, withdrawals from that card. That's usually what I recommend as the easiest option, but there's a lot of flexibility for that. Do I resubmit my transcripts before or after? So that would be before. Some students can't get their final transcript in time to get fully accepted. For example, say Nigerians right now, They just sat for their WAEC or their school finishing exam last month. So for them, we would ask for their high school transcripts now, showing how they did in their classes. If they're applying for spring semester admission, we would base their admission off of their school results and their SAT test scores. However, before January 1st, when students are arriving on campus and getting ready to start classes, we would ask to receive their WAEC results, which are supposed to be coming out in, I think, late November, early December right now. So we can give an admission once we receive most of your transcript, if you're not completely done with your studies yet. And then after admission, you would also need to send us any additional transcripts if you completed something after that point. So we do need your transcripts before admission, but also maybe after, depending on your own personal situation. Can international students apply for work after graduating outside of campus? Yes. So that would be the OPT program. Typically, students would be eligible for a 1-year work permit after they graduate from a program in the United States under a federal immigration program. So that would allow them to gain some experience. That can be extended depending on what your major is. And then potentially, if you're doing very well, it is possible for a company to decide to try to sponsor you for an H-1B, for example, which would be the next step of the pathway if you would wish to remain in the United States. But yeah, typically OPT is a first step. And to improve your chances of getting a OPT, or at least a good position in OPT, I do recommend students do the CPT, which is the internships that you take before you graduate. Because if you do an internship for a company and you do it really well and they like you, that definitely increases the chances of their willingness to sponsor you for an OPT. And if you do that well, then potentially additional sponsorships later on. Can international students apply for work after retention rate? Oh, I haven't checked for this year. It's usually around 70%. For our international students, it's a bit higher, but that's the university total. But yeah, it's typically somewhere around the 70% rate for retention. But good question. I actually don't think I've ever been asked that by an international student before. So, cheers. All right, well, that was a lot of talking. My voice is starting to go, but looks like I caught up with the chat. So, awesome. If there's any last questions, feel free to jump them out and pop them into the chat here. Otherwise, I'll kind of start wrapping up things here. I got another one a little bit later, so if you're up late and you just want more time with me, you're welcome to come back. This video will be up later, so if you weren't able to watch the whole thing or you can go back and see it from the beginning. What about students with kids? Sure. So if you do have a child, you would be applying for an F2 for them. So that does increase your financial requirements to obtain the visa. Typically, we don't really have great on-campus housing for students with children. So we would recommend you probably take one of the off-campus options in that case. However, when you're here, depending on the age of the child, they would be eligible to attend U.S. kindergarten or elementary school or middle school or high school or whatever age it is that they are. They would be entitled to starting their education program while in the United States with you on your visa status. And then, of course, there might be some additional costs with child care, having someone be able to watch them in case you don't have a spouse to watch them when you're in classes or something like that. So it is an added complication, but it has been done. I do have quite a few students here with families and children, so it definitely isn't an impossibility. it just takes a little bit more planning, a little bit more creativity sometimes, but it certainly is an option. How do you submit your preliminary transcript? I cannot receive I cannot receive transcripts from students themselves. They do need to be sent by either the testing body or the school. However, as long as the school has like an official email account, they can send it to me as a scanned copy by email. I can't accept transcripts from like at Gmail or at yahoo.com. It has to be like at schoolname.edu or something like that. Simply to show that it is an official communication from the educational agency or school. If they do not have that, then it is possible for them to send a printed copy in a sealed school envelope to us in the traditional mail. And my address is on the bottom of every one of the emails I've sent to you, so that's where it would need to be sent. But that's typically the process to submit a transcript. So hopefully they have an official email where they can send it to me directly from the school. If not, post is always an option. Ooh. But yes, I guess I will end it there because I feel like if I talk too much longer, my voice is going to give out. But, really appreciate all of the time and attention and all the great questions. I do appreciate it. Like I said, the video will be available. You can submit the preliminary yourself just for me to take a look at. I can't add it to your application. It doesn't really have any value for your application. But if you just wanted me to look at your transcript and say like, hey, what do you think about, these classes and these grades? I can definitely do that. But it doesn't have any actual value towards your application until we get the official one from the school. But yes, until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Feel free to come back again. I'll probably be doing another one of these next month. So if you have more questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll look forward to working with you and receiving any additional questions you might have in email. My email address, yes. That's, oh my, I hate that picture. I don't know what the shirt I had that had like a texture on it, which really didn't like the green screen, I think. Oh well. But yes, this is my email address right here. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, if you don't have my email address already, that's where to find me. Just try not to look at that picture too much because it might give you bad dreams. But that's how you can find me. I can certainly be reached and I'll be happy to help with any additional questions you might have. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. We'll see you later and good night.